Hey guys, today we're going to talk about the tarot and how I got involved in reading tarot cards and how I taught myself to read tarot cards. When I first started collecting tarot and learning how to read the tarot, I would read all the books about the tarot and they would just bore me to tears. Most of the books out there, excluding a couple, you would read them and you read about the symbolism, and a lot of the symbolism I already knew. So it was sort of like, they're telling me stuff I already know. So it's like, what is the point of reading this book? Why not just go and look at the cards and try to get a more intuitive interpretation of the cards, which is basically what I do. There are a couple of tarot decks that I do feel that you have to read the booklet that goes along with it. There's the Geiger Tarot. I think it's important to read the booklet that goes along with that. That is an absolutely excellent tarot deck, by the way, and I believe I did a video on that a while back. Um, and the thing I like about that tarot deck is the book that goes along with it isn't boring like so many other tarot decks that have booklets that go along with it are boring. Or you have a tarot deck that has a booklet and it really doesn't tell you that much. So hence you got to stare at the cards, meditate on the cards, and get the meaning yourself. And sometimes that's a really good thing. Um, the Tarot of Nefertari, I think, is a tarot deck like that. I read the booklet that comes along with it, and it's like, yeah, they kind of give you like a brief outline of what the card means, but to really get at what the card means, you really need to do some research into Kemet and to Egyptology to really get a meaning of what the card is trying to say. And I think in a lot of ways that's a good thing. Unlike, like I said, the Geiger Tarot, you really need to read the book. There's the Hoodoo Tarot also. I think you really need to um, do some background work and study on the cards and their meanings before you do readings from that tarot deck, which is an absolutely beautiful deck. And in the future, I do plan on doing a video on that tarot deck. But as I said, some of the books, are boring. Some of the books in some tarot decks, I think you need to read from those books. But my best teacher in learning the symbolism behind the tarot deck is a teacher that I didn't know personally, but he has a book out that you can still get that was very, very influential on me. And when I was in not in not in junior high, I would say junior college, I guess. um, when I was at Henry Ford Community College, at the community college rather, and that man was Joseph Campbell. If you can understand um, the symbolism behind myth and behind a lot of the legends and the stories that are out there that are connected to different religious paths, then I think you can have a really good grasp on the tarot. His book, The Power of Myth, is one of the best books I've read, especially when I was younger. I think I read that book when I was in my 20s. And reading that book, it was like it just really opened my eyes up to symbolism. It opened my eyes up to, you know, why certain things are in tarot decks and what their deeper meanings are. And sometimes, you can pick up a tarot deck and get a meaning that is not necessarily in the book that came along with the tarot deck. And I think that is the ultimately the best way. Even if you take a book and or take a deck and you read the book that goes along with the tarot deck, and you study it, you still, if you understand symbolism, you can really get a deeper understanding of what that card means. And whatever tarot deck you are reading from, you should always study um, the cards. You know, study and meditate on the cards before you actually do a reading. And that's for other people, and I'm talking about readings for yourself too, because I've always been a fan on people reading tarot cards for themselves. You know, I mean, you can do a tarot card reading with someone else. You know, have someone explain the cards and do a layout for you. But I've always been a fan of doing it yourself. And some people would disagree with me, but that's cool. That's just my opinion. I've done videos on why I feel it's important to read the tarot card yourself also. But anyway, the artwork, I've always loved the artwork that goes along with the tarot, and I tend to collect the more unusual tarot decks, like the zombie tarot, and some of these cards, or some of these decks rather, people can say these aren't really tarot decks, they're almost like a parody of a tarot deck. Well, depending on who you're talking to. I've done some pretty good readings from tarot decks that are non-conventional, and those tend to be my favorite. I always go back to Rider-Waite, even when I'm doing a tarot deck from a deck that is non-conventional. Say if you are if you're doing a reading and the Tower card comes up and the Tower card means something else in one tarot deck and means something completely different in another tarot deck. That's okay, but you can always go back to Rider-Waite and go back to the original meaning of the Tower card, and then go and contrast that to the Tower card in the deck that you're reading if it's non-conventional. But I've always been attracted. I got a couple of vampire decks. I got a Cthulhu deck, and I believe I've done videos on those. And the fact that they're non-traditional tarot decks, that's one of the things that attracts me to them. And I'm starting to collect Oracle decks too. I think I got like maybe 2 Oracle decks. And I'm starting to collect those too because they kind of go off, on their own symbolism that is not necessarily connected to, the standard tarot, which is great. Also, when it comes to spreads, when I do tarot card readings for other people, I don't use the Celtic Cross a lot of times. Or sometimes I do a lot of the 3-card readings. If someone wants a 3-card reading, I'll do that for them, of course. But I ask the person, what is it they want to know? Why are you here, sitting in front of me and want to know something, And I let the cards speak for themselves. I've always believed that, it's great to be psychic and to do tarot card readings for someone, but a lot of times you don't even have to be psychic to give a really good tarot card reading. You just look at the card and say, and get the meaning of that card. And if you get the meaning of that card and you ask yourself, why is this card being drawn at this particular time? That card might mean something to you that it won't mean to somebody else. Now that's more along the lines of doing tarot card readings for yourself, because different symbology could mean one thing for one person and another thing for another person. So it all depends on the individual, and also depends on the individual you're doing a reading for also. So that's why I don't necessarily use the Celtic Cross or 3-card readings or some of the more standard ways of doing tarot card readings. I tend to ask the person, what is it that you're here for? And sometimes I use a card that represents the person. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I can choose a card that represents the situation they're in. Sometimes you can just take one tarot card and you can get a whole variety of different meanings of a situation, or different angles or different ways of looking at a situation just by looking at one tarot card. Now, the tarot card tarot deck that I'm going to look at right now. Now, this is not a flip through or anything like. Well, I guess in a way it is a kind of a flip through because I do want to show some of the cards. This is the. Let me get the deck here. This is the Crow's Magic Tarot, and I don't use this tarot deck that much. And I do in the future plan on doing a real video on this card. But I want to flip through some of these cards just to show you the symbolism in a lot of these cards. Like this one right here, it's Judgment. And when I would look at this card, I would see a crow that is psychedelic. So one of the first things I would ask myself is, why is the crow psychedelic? And why is there a door and the moon associated with this card? Because the moon can mean a lot of things, and the crow can mean a lot of things. And a psychedelic crow, well, that's something you have to meditate on. Another card right here would be the Sun. And this is sort of like my first time really looking at this tarot deck, so you're getting the off-the-cuff meaning of these cards. Anyway, this is the Sun, and I would ask myself, if I'm doing a tarot card reading for someone, why is there a crow flying towards the sun? And the feeling that I get from here is almost like a phoenix figure. The card, I don't think the glare in my camera is really picking up the full picture here, but it's almost like you see a different, you see you see the wings, another set of wings that is associated with this card right here, with the with the crow right here. And I get the feeling of a phoenix, maybe because he's going into the sun or flying near to the sun, you know. The flight of Icarus kind of goes through my head. But as I say, this is sort of like a first look that I'm flipping through with some of these cards. And this is sort of giving you an off-the-cuff meaning of them. Now, they can, if you read the book, it can mean something completely different. So that's my point. You know, you should go read the book, and you should also get your own interpretation of the cards too. Now, this is an interesting one. This is also the moon. It says lunacy and delusion, and it has it looks like 3 of the main religions on here. Interesting. I guess this the symbolism here is not a fan of Judaism, Christianity, or Islam, but whatever floats your boat, you know. I don't, you know, it's not my job to talk ill of other people's religions, but I do find this card very interesting. It has 2 crows here, and it looks like they're flying out at night. So this is the moon card. The Hermit card here, now this is very interesting because here you have a moth next to a flame. And you have the crow that is flying in the moonlight. So my point being is that you can look at different cards within different tarot decks, and you don't necessarily have to have the book. Because I have a couple of tarot cards, or tarot decks rather, and I don't have the book that goes along with it. Excuse me. And I'm not going to not use the cards because I don't have the book, you know. I'm going to get my own interpretation of the cards. And a lot of times when you sit and you meditate on the cards, you get the idea of the card, and when you go back and you read the book, it's a lot of times it's similar. Sometimes it could be completely different. Sometimes it could be an artist that put something in the card that means something to you. It might not have meant anything to the artist, or it might not mean anything that goes along with the booklet that goes along with it, but it can have a special meaning or a special purpose in your life, or in your interpretation of what's happening in your life that is associated with that particular card. So, in this video, I used the Crow's Magic Tarot. So if you're interested in getting this tarot, I'm going to do a video on this probably later on. This is the booklet that goes along with it. And, you know, because my name is Merlin Ravensong, and, you know, you have the raving in there, you know, the blackbird. Of course, I was drawn to this tarot deck. So, and I really like some of the imagery that is associated with this tarot deck. Okay, I'll show you a couple of cards. Isn't this really cool? This is Temperance. Interesting. You have two birds. Well, two main birds. And you have some other ones in the background there. But this is really cool. I really like this deck. It has a different feel to it. The color scheme is totally different than what I thought it would be. And let's see. And I really like the cover of this. So in the future, I will be doing a real flip through of this tarot deck. But I just want to show you, the symbolism that goes within tarot cards. Read the book. I'm not telling you don't read the book. Read the book. But most importantly, meditate on the cards. Get your own interpretation of the cards. And when I do a layout, a tarot layout, to me it tells a story. And it tells a story of where you are within the universe at that particular time, or if you're reading for someone, it tells the story of where they're at that particular time. So that's the way I approach it. Some people approach it differently. I approach it this way. My tarot card readings are way more intuitive and less cerebral than I think other people who read tarot cards for people are. Now, that's just me personally. I'm not saying that my way is the best way or the only way. It's just my way. Alright, so anyway, that is basically how I view tarot, how I got involved in tarot. I love art. I love artwork. I love art that is associated with the occult. And that is one of the big reasons why I got involved in the tarot, because of that. You know, there's other forms of divination that I like, you know, like astrology, and I'm really getting into numerology right now. But it's always the art that I really, really love. And it is a way of me appreciating art also, art of other people, you know, art of that particular person who put together that particular tarot deck. Alright, so that is all I wanted to say. And until next time, love is Salah, Nima, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.